Hi everyone, in this video we are going to take a look at BECCA's new collaboration collection with Khloe Kardashian and I guess her best friend Malika Haqq. I do not follow the Kardashians, so I am not in on the know for those details, but this is the BECCA BFFs collection. It is currently available through BECCA's website, through Sephora, and through Ulta. On Sephora, the collection is not available until January 17th, but it is available right now through Ulta and through BECCA's own website. As you probably could have guessed, this collection is limited edition, so these items will not be permanent in BECCA's line. Make sure you see the description box below for links to where you can find these to purchase if you'd like, as well as a link to Ebates so that if you do make your purchase online, you can get some cash back on your order. Remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on videos like this. And if you haven't checked out the most recent video, I will link that in the upper right hand corner for you. We did swatches for Milani's new formula and colors in their matte lipstick range, and we either have just posted or will soon be posting the video for Huda Beauty's new matte and metal liquid shadows. So make sure you go check those out and that you're subscribed to the channel. In this video, I will not only swatch these and give you a review and first impressions, but I will also be applying these to the face and letting you know how they apply. All right, let's get swatching and applying the Khloe and Malika BFFs collection. So let's start by looking at the BFF palettes. These retail for $44 each, and as you can see, they each contain 4 different face powder shades, and there are 2 different palettes with shades in them. They each include a soft focus highlighter, a bronzer, and 2 radiant blushes. BECCA also says that these are sheer, buildable shades infused with light technology to softly scatter and reflect light to smooth the look of your skin and create a natural lit from within glow. I want to take a look at the packaging with you. These palettes are bulky. There's just no other way to describe them. They are large and they're fairly thick. Not extremely heavy, but bulky in size. They open up with a clasp closure. They each contain a mirror in the lid, which is nice. And then you can see that each pan is raised. So the one in the gold packaging is the Made with Love by Khloe palette. So this is the one that is used to recreate Khloe's look. Here are the pans up close. As always, I will swatch these with a powder brush over my skin. And then the one in the silver packaging is the Made with Love by Malika palette, which has the shades to recreate her look. So first we'll do brush swatches. I'm going to be using the Sigma Tapered Face F25 brush, and then I'll do finger swatches for you side by side. So we're starting with the highlighting powder, which is called Glow Up. It's a very neutral, soft, shimmering shade. It has a very soft champagne tone to it. And here's a second layer. Applies very smoothly and beautifully. Next is the Radiant Blush in the shade Fierce. Again, very soft application of shimmer and color. Here's a second layer. This in the pan is a mixture of peach and bronzy champagne shimmer, and on the skin, not a whole lot of that peach shows through. It looks almost just like a highlighter. And I'll apply a third layer just to show you very little color. Fabulosity is the next radiant blush. In the pan, it's mostly this corally peach color with a little bit of darker mauve shade marbled through it. So you can definitely see a lot more blush color there. And again, another light third layer just to build it up. And then the Satin Matte Bronzer in the shade Cocoa Bronze. This is the first layer, and I will say that as I was putting my brush over the pan, I don't know that I really saw a lot of transfer onto the brush. Second layer, of course you could use a denser brush if you wanted a stronger stripe of color. That's starting to show up with a second layer there. The third one, and it definitely has this soft matte finish to it. Please excuse this stamp from a day ago. Okay, so applied with a powder brush, here are your 3 shades. First, or 4 shades, the first three of which are shimmery, and then the last one is a kind of radiant matte formula. Not the strongest punch of color, and definitely something you want to use if you're going for that summered glow look. All right, and then moving on to the Malika palette, starting off with the highlighter in the shade Dusted. This is definitely more of a deeper bronzy kind of highlighter. Don't really need a second layer, it applies very smoothly, but I'm just going to build it up a little bit for the camera. Next is the Radiant Blush in the shade Yes Girl. And this is a swirl of a pretty vibrant coral shade swirled with kind of like an orangey coppery bronze. And again, you don't really need a second layer. It showed up very nicely with just one. I will build it up with a second layer. Next Radiant Blush is called Make Me Blush. And this is more of a pinky mauve. Again, beautiful color on that first layer. And the Satin Matte Bronzer in the shade Bestie Bronze. Now this bronzer is definitely more warm. It's kind of orange toned. Shows up much more quickly on my skin tone. It's probably likely because of the shade and the depth. And again, you really don't need a second layer, but just for consistency, I'm going to add a little more for layer 2. I think far superior to the Kardashian palette, not only in terms of pigmentation application, but also the distinctness of the shades. I feel like with the Kardashian palette, the first 3 shades were very similar to each other. But again, first 3 shades are distinctly shimmery, and then you have this radiant matte finish on the bronzer. And the formula also is fairly dusty. The bronzer kicks up the least amount of dust. This is true for both of the palettes, but these first 3 shades, you're gonna get powder around the compact and the air. And for the swatches, I went left to right. All right, now for finger swatches. Again, we'll start with the Khloe palette. We have the Glow Up highlighter, the Fierce Radiant Blush, the Fabulosity Radiant Blush, and the Cocoa Bronze Bronzer. Much better with heavier finger swatches, so you could use maybe a denser brush to get these colors to show, or of course use them as eyeshadows. But again, the middle 2 shades I just feel like are a little too close to get maximum variety out of this palette. And then for the Malika palette, the Soft Focus highlighter in Dusted, the Radiant Blush in Yes Girl. Oh, so beautiful. The next Radiant Blush, so beautiful, in Make Me Blush, and the bronzer in Bestie Bronze. This is a beautiful palette. I just wish that this bronzer were not so orange toned. I mean, hopefully you can clearly see there the very distinct orange hue that this bronzer has, which I think is unfortunate because that doesn't look flattering on a lot of skin tones. All right, there's the Khloe side and the Malika side. All right, next let's take a look at the glow letters. This retails for $18. This comes in cardboard packaging, and I will say there is powder that does fall out of the packaging itself. So this does not feel too luxurious. It has this sponge kind of stopper, and then those are the things inside. So this is a set of XO and heart-shaped highlighters that create a soft focus glow for the face and eyes. These are baked and are supposed to create a warm glow. It also says each letter is hand pressed and unique, so shade and finish varies in each jar. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Do different people like mix the powders and then cut them so that sometimes you get a different color? I don't know really what that means exactly, but that's what it says in the description. So here's a look up close at the shapes. I think this is very cute in terms of having the hearts and the X's and O's in there, and it makes it unique. I have a feeling this may just be a little gimmicky as opposed to high quality, but let's do the swatches and see. Oh, and then also the X's and O's seem to be the same shade, like a lighter bronzy champagne kind of color, and then the hearts are a deeper bronze shade. So I swirled the brush in the jar very extensively, making sure to pick up both shades that are in there. So our first application here is with a brush. As probably expected, pretty subtle bronzy champagne effect. The shimmer is not quite as intense as with the highlighter that we saw from the palettes we just looked at, but definitely still there, and actually a pretty decent color after you swipe a few times there. Second layer, don't really think you actually need it. When I first started watching, I thought nothing would show up, but definitely got a good showing of color already with just one layer, and here's two. And since you can use this on the eyes, let's go ahead and do a brush swatch with an eyeshadow brush. Not really that impressed with that. It's just a little too sheer, and frankly, it's a pain to try to swipe your brush over those small shapes. And last, for consistency, let's do a finger swatch. If you're gonna use it as an eyeshadow, I would say use your fingers to get a nicer, smoother effect there. Okay, so they are your glow letters, swatched a few different ways depending on how you'd like to use it. I really like the finish on this, if you're gonna use it as a highlighter actually. And finally, we have 4 new Ultimate Lipstick Loves. These retail for $24 each. As you can see, there are 2 nudie shades and then 2 more vibrant shades. These have a silky satin long-wearing formula infused with hyaluronic acid to help hydrate the lips. They're supposed to be ultra creamy with pure pigments and light reflecting oils to deliver a high impact color in a single swipe. They're also infused with avocado oil. And as you can see reflected with those palettes we first looked at, 2 of the shades are created with the inspiration from Khloe, and then 2 of them with the inspiration from Malika. So they each did 1 nudie shade, and they each did 1 of the more vibrant shades. So here is the packaging, very pretty, but also, again, bulky. These are larger than what you would typically get with another BECCA lipstick, just letting you know. Also, like with the face palettes, the packaging shows fingerprints very, very easily. But in any case, these open up like this, and standard lipstick bullet there. So this first shade is Yours Truly. Next is Cupid's Kiss, Hot Tamale, and Brave. All right, so the first shade, Yours Truly, is a Malika shade. It says this is a delicate pinky neutral. I don't see a lot of pink in here. This seems to me to be very nudie. In fact, almost kind of on a peachy browned leaning kind of nude. Cupid's Kiss is a Khloe shade. This is a rich, toasty neutral. I would agree with that. Hot Tamale is another Khloe shade. And this is a spicy red with warm undertones. And Brave is a Malika shade. This is a glamorous true red with cool undertones. Okay, those are the shades swatched. All of them have a glossy, slightly glossy sheen finish to them. Nice color. Stay tuned just a bit for application. You can see how these apply on the lips. All right, so I've already applied foundation and powder, concealer, I've done my brows, and I've done my eyes. If you want to know how I got this very simple eye look, but with a not so simple product, then click the upper right-hand corner. I did this look using Huda Beauty's new matte and metal liquid eyeshadows. In that video, I also show you swatches and give you a review of the formula and how I think it's best to use and the downfalls for that formula. So if it's already published, I'll put it up in the right-hand corner for you to click the link on to view it. If it hasn't, then it will be the next video that will be published. So stay tuned and subscribe. In terms of applying these products to my face, we're going to start with the palettes. I am going to use the bronzer from the Khloe palette because I'm not putting that orangey bronzer on my face, so I'm going to use this color to bronze. I might use my Allura Pro palette to contour since this is not an actual contouring product. I'm going to also use the highlighter from the Khloe palette because that is more my skin tone. I am not. It's winter, I'm pale, I am not ready for that bronzing highlighter, but I am going to use the blushes from this palette. I think I'm going to start with this shade or mix, probably I'm going to mix the two of them together to apply as a blush. Okay, I have quickly and pretty lightly contoured with my Allura Pro palette. We're going to take a large fan brush across the bronzing shade in the Khloe palette to bronze up the face. I love using these kinds of brushes because it gives you a diffused look and covers a large amount of space quickly. Going over the cheeks, kind of a 3 shape. Like we saw in the swatches, you're not going to get a ton of color right away out of this formula. Of course, if you use a denser brush, you'll get more pigment more quickly. Okay, over the bridge of the nose. All right, now that we don't look quite so stark and pale, let's blush up the cheeks. So like I said, I'm gonna take a little bit of the coral and pinky mauve on an angled blush brush. This is Sigma SS 168. Lately, I've been liking to pat and then buff. And especially for the wintertime, I've been coming closer into the middle of the face, under the eyes, apple of the cheeks to give a more youthful, flushed look. But look at how beautiful that color looks, just with a little bit of a dab in those two shades. These apply beautifully. I so wish that we could have a contour palette with these two blushes and then the highlighter and the bronzer from the other palette. All right, and back to the Khloe palette for the highlighter with a thinner, smaller fan brush. Ooh, got some hair on there. Beautiful highlight. Again, this is the kind of formula where you will get a much stronger punch of color with a more dense brush, or if you even use your finger, or if you spritz your brush for a wet effect. But since I am going out, I want a more practical look, not an Instagram crazy look. So I am going for a more diffused finish. So really, other than that color issue, I think these are very nice palettes. They're also pretty bulky. I wish they weren't as bulky, but in terms of the actual formula of the shades, I think it's very, very lovely. For the lips, I'm going to apply Cupid's Kiss. These go on very, very smoothly. They feel nice and silky and smooth. They do have a vanilla scent to them also. The scent reminds me, it's like a vanilla peppermint scent. The scent reminds me of MAC's plush glasses, the ones that kind of sting and are supposed to plump up your lips. So this is not the shade that I would really wear with this look. I'm probably gonna take this off before I go out and put more of a pinky purpley toned shade. But since none of the other shades of the 4 are in that family, I just picked this one to show you. So there's the completed look. So I do think this is a lovely collection. I was more impressed by the letter glows than I thought I would be. I'm not really that impressed with the packaging, and the form factor is more difficult to use. It's not as straightforward, but if you like the look of it and you're particularly attracted to the uniqueness of it, at the end of the day, you will get a very nice shimmering look on the skin. I really like the palettes, but I think it's a huge disappointment that you have that very orangey bronzing shade in the Malika palette, and that the blush shades in the Khloe palette are very similar to each other and don't have a lot of color. They end up just looking like highlighters almost. I think the perfect palette would have been to use either of the highlighters from either palettes, then have the 2 blushes that are in the Malika palette, and then to have the bronzing shade from the Khloe palette, or even just another deeper bronzing shade, but that wasn't orange. And the lipsticks are very lovely to use. They're very buttery on the lips. Wouldn't say they're particularly unique at all. The shades are not unique. And frankly, the formula is not that unique, even though it is nice to wear. And I do also wish that the packaging overall was a little less bulky. Those are my thoughts of the collection. Please leave me some comments in the comment section below telling me what you think, and if you've tried any of these things out, what you like and don't. I hope this video was helpful to you if you're interested in purchasing any of these. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.